Hello Mayhem Makers, I am Mindy with Quilting Mayhem and welcome to week 5 of the summer sampler. We are doing the double X block, and I would call this kind of our halfway point, which means summer is going way too fast. We do have kind of a unique block here, but we'll show you how to do it. It's not as hard as it seems, but we are stepping away from just half square triangles or flying geese. We're getting into some new different things, which is kind of fun. But we'll start off, of course, half square triangles. You know, we love them. Simple, put two fabrics together, draw a line diagonally on one of them, and sew that quadrant seam either side of the line, and then you'll cut it apart and trim it. And I'll show you how to trim it using the Tucker trimmer tool. That's the one that I've recommended for the summer sampler. I do love this thing. But yeah, cut apart, press, magically half square triangles appear. Yay, I got to prep some stuff ahead of time. And then this ruler. Oh, I love this. Okay, I just want to make sure. What's really nice is it has kind of hole sizes, and then you got your 1/2 inch ones. So line that half square triangle up, diagonal, through that diagonal seam, and then you're going to trim off your excess. So if you've been following along, you've done this before, and this is nothing new. If you're new, welcome. We love this tool. We carry it in the store. It just makes trimming up these squares easier, and it will also help you make quarter square triangles if you're feeling extra fancy. And there is a video on our YouTube channel that will show you how to use this. All right, so make sure you clean those up. And then what will happen is you'll turn them into what I would call a 4-patch block. So actually, we'll show you that part here before we move on to the other one. So we're going to pretend this one's clean. And then you're just going to lay out these other squares, lay them together, and make a 4-patch unit. So I'll sneak over to my machine real quick, throw one together, and show you what it looks like. All right, so you put your two squares together, and they'll kind of look like this. You'll end up putting them right sides together, match that seam in the middle, pin that, and then sew it. All right, and that's going to make this little 4-patch unit with the half square triangles, making sure they meet in the center. All right, so that's one part of the block. The other part, this is the one that's a little trickier. It's not terrible, just you're working with triangles. That always makes it a little more difficult. Now, one of the key things, make sure you're laying it out per the picture, and make sure that your triangles are facing the correct way, okay? So you're trying to turn these 3 pieces into one larger triangle. So you want to make sure you're not doing funky stuff like this. You want to lay them like this to sew them. So then you start with one, line up this 90-degree side and sew it, and then you'll add the next. So I'll be right back. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so step 1, triangle to square. If this little guy bugs you, and it will kind of get flipped under later, just cut it off now. So just take some scissors, trim it off. You don't need that little dog ear. All right, and it'll just add bulk later. Then lay it down. We're going to make sure that we're getting our triangles on correctly. Bring this, line up this 90-degree corner, and then take it to the machine and sew it again. All right, so that you end up with a unit that looks like this. Okay, so we're making 2 of these. Once again, this little dog ear, just cut that bad boy off. You can see I didn't trim the other one, so see how it's sitting back behind there? I'm just going to trim it now. I don't want all that extra bulk in there. Okay, but we have our 1/4 inch here. We have a nice triangle. What will happen next is then you have that bigger triangle that you cut. You're going to lay it on top. All right. And they should just match up nice and neatly. Highly recommend, because we're working with bias, use some pins. Bias is super stretchy. because it's on that diagonal, and just save yourself some grief and just pin it all nice and flat so everything comes out in the end. All right, then just take it to your machine, sew a 1/4 inch. Be right back. All right, we are almost there. So you should have 2 blocks that look like this and then 2 that look like this. Keep in mind, we're going to check these. We want them to be the correct measurement. We are going to trim any excess because there may be just a little bit. I know I kind of did a little spot check on mine and there's just a little trimming needed. So if you have a 6.5 inch square, highly recommend. Makes life easy because then you can just see all the way around. If you have bigger, great. Just use that marking on your ruler. We're going to come over here and just kind of like trimming up a 1/2 square triangle, we're going to lay the diagonal line of the ruler on the diagonal seam to trim everything up. All right. So this side's actually pretty good. We just have these little dog ears that need to come off. All right. And then I'm going to flip it around. This unit's got a little bit out of control, and that's part of kind of working with bias and those kinds of things. Some fabric can get out of control, but no, it's not much. It's just a little bit. And we're not losing anything. We're not losing a point, anything else, so no big deal to trim some of this down. We're just kind of getting those little dog ears off, okay? And if you're using the Tucker trimmer, it is, let's see, let's try it. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than 6.5, so you can use it because you have all your measurements. Once again, you line up your diagonal line of the ruler on the diagonal seam, but you just make sure you're matching up the 6.5 markings and have a little bit extra all the way around. Don't go too far one way or the other. You got to keep in mind where that 6.5 marking is to trim it up. So you can use this ruler. It works just fine. Just be mindful that it is not, the ruler itself is not 6.5 all the way around. So you don't want to shortchange yourself somewhere. All right, so I've cleaned up these 2 sides, so now I know they're straight. I can lay them on that 6.5 mark and trim off. All right, nice and pretty. So then, clean up our mess, lay out the block, put them together, and it's really just one big 4-patch, which is kind of fun. Make sure you can see what's going on. So make sure you're keeping an eye on your diagram. Make sure these big triangles are facing each other, and these guys are going the same direction. You don't want to accidentally turn it. It'll look a little funny. So keep in mind it's doing kind of one big chain of these background squares. So you want these facing this way. And then we're just going to fold these over, sew them together, making sure that you're starting and stopping with these ends matching. This is the biggest key. All right, so take it to the machine, be right back. All right, here we go. Last seam. All right, so you have this guy and this one. You're just gonna lay them right sides together, pin that seam that meets, because you want it to meet as best as you can. I would potentially pin this end corner where you're going to stop, and then just make sure that this starting corner is nice and lined up when you start the machine. All right, be right back. Block's almost done. And here we go, the double X block. I love this. And as I say every week, once again, another block. You could do this just as a whole quilt, and I think it would be amazing. Try it out, you know, especially if you need something quick and easy and might have a wow factor for the person you want to gift it to. This is it. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you need any help, as always, contact us at info@quiltingmayhem.com, call us at the store, come see us at the store. You can reach out via Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. we'll help you out. We're here for you. Just let us know. Otherwise, post your blocks, share what you're doing. Make sure you tag us at Quilting Mayhem, Embrace Mayhem, Mayhem Maker, QM Summer Sampler, all the tags, so that you make sure that we see you, because we love seeing you share. I get excited when you guys are following along. Means that all my effort was for something. So hope you're enjoying it. We'll see you next week. Keep on stitching.